Welcome to the class. We talked about the field of literary criticism, literary theory, and we also talked about the role of literary critic. We talked about different types of literary criticism, different approaches to the study of literature. Having discussed that, now we shall go ahead with the next part of our discussion. In this part, we shall talk about important literary concepts and terms. You should keep in your mind that these terms are very important if at all you want to enjoy learning English literature. At the same time, those who aspire, those who want to become professors in senior colleges, they have to appear for SAT and NET examination. There will be questions on these concepts and terms in your SAT and NET examination. I've tried to talk about almost all the terms, important terms in your Canvas course. I've made them available into different groups from A to D, E to H, I to L, M to P, and Q to Z. Means A to Z concepts are introduced in your Canvas course. Means they are readily available. But I would like to remind you that this is not the exhaustive list. Means the concepts and terms do not end here. And I'm sure that you must be familiar with a book, a very famous book in the field of literary criticism, which helps you understand important literary concepts and terms. Can anyone tell me the name of the book? Which book? Which is the book that helps you understand literary concepts and terms? Your teachers must have told it to you in last year, TYBA. Well, it is Glossary of Literary Terms. The Glossary of Literary Terms by Abrams. Okay, I have given the name of the book here. You can see it. Abrams MH and Harpum GG, a glossary of literary terms. So this is a very important book. And you must have a copy of this book in your collection. I suggest you to purchase it online. Okay, if it is possible for you. So if you purchase it, it will be really useful for you people. Okay. So I recommend that you buy this book. One more thing, one more book that I have included in the list is Habib's book. I'll show you. And even at the PDF version, you can see the PDF, you can download it from here. The PDF version of the book is made available to you people. When you click on this link, it will get downloaded in your system, in your device, in your mobile phone or in a computer, whatever device you use. So the title of the book is A History of Literary Criticism and Theory from Plato to the Present. So these are the books which are very important in understanding literary criticism and theory. And one more book is Ashok Thorat and other, A Spectrum of Literary Criticism. Both these books are available in a library, college library, but I have already made this PDF version available to you people. Apart from that, the essays that you're going to study are from the Norton Anthology of Theory and Criticism, And the PDF version of this book is also made available to you people. You can click here to download that. But I would like to tell you that this is a very book. It is about around 1,000 pages. So it is up to you to download it or not. I have taken the topics and given the only those pages for you, topic wise pages, as we go ahead. Most of your topics are from this book itself. Okay, these are the reference books that I have suggested you people. There are other books as well. I have given the list of references in the last page. I shall show it to that, show it to you people that as well. Now let's go ahead with the important terms. I would like to tell you that it is not possible to cover all these terms in your regular lectures. So you people should get familiar with them one by one. Okay, I shall give some idea. Okay, I shall tell you how to read that Abraham's book, A Glossary of Literary Terms. Okay, apart from that, Dr. Ashok Thorat's book, Spectrum of Literary Criticism, also has the list of important literary concepts and terms. Means in a simple language. Means those who find it difficult to understand the language of glossary, I recommend that you read Spectrum of Literary Criticism initially. And in the latter stage, once you become habituated, once you become familiar with, you can go ahead with glossary. Glossary is a kind of dictionary of literary concepts and terms. Okay. But I have made it available in your Canvas course. That is also important. Okay, now let's go ahead with certain terms. The first important term to understand literary criticism is aestheticism. It is a term used to refer to European literary movement. The term aestheticism refers to the European literary movement. Literary means related to literature. So this is a term used to refer to the literary movement in Europe, and it has its roots in France. Means it started in France. And this particular movement, aestheticism, was very predominant in the 1890s in France, and later it came to England as well. Now, what did this theory do? This movement, it denied, it rejected that art needed to have any utilitarian purpose. For example, we understood the philosophical, a practical approach, philosophical or didactic approach, moral approach to the study of literature. The moral approach to the study of literature insists on the use of literature for teaching moral lessons, for teaching the people. They think that literature is meant for preaching, teaching people. This particular approach, this particular movement denies that art is for teaching. It does not accept the utilitarian purpose. Utilitarian means use. And it focuses on what we call art for art's sake. Okay, art is only for the sake of art. It is not meant for teaching people. It has its artistic beauty. Okay, and you must be knowing a British critic, Walter Pater. He introduced this doctrine of aestheticism to English people, to England. And this particular doctrine, aestheticism, which focuses on art for art's sake, can be found in the plays of Oscar Wilde. Okay, you must be knowing Oscar Wilde, British dramatist, and other short stories of Arthur Symons. When we talk about American literature, American English literature, the ideas related to the aesthetic movement are found in the short stories, short fiction of E.A. Poe. So, miss, of course, there are many other writers. We are referring to the names of the important writers, such as Oscar Wilde, Edgar Poe, etc. So, this is how we can understand aestheticism. So, while studying, you should take note of it. You should prepare notes of your own, and you can refer your own notes while preparing yourself for different kind of examinations. Okay. The next concept is allegory. I hope you are familiar with this. Allegory is a literary mode in which characters in a narrative, in a story, in a poem, in a ballad, etc., personify abstract ideas. They stand for abstract ideas or qualities. Means human qualities are attributed to these particular abstract ideas. For example, abstract ideas examples of abstract ideas are, can you tell someone? Okay, rationality, for example. Rationality is an abstract idea. Love is an abstract idea. Means it does not have a concrete shape as such. Friendship, for example. Then we talk about violence. We talk about hate. All these are abstract ideas. They do not have particular shape as such. They are not concrete. And the writers use, names of people to represent these abstract ideas, or they are treated as human beings. Okay. And it has a second level of meaning. Means the first meaning, that is literal meaning, and then the metaphorical meaning is there. Second level of meaning is also there in allegory. In addition to the surface narrative, means surface meaning is there. For example, if you talk about, George Orwell's Animal Farm, on the surface, you come across pigs, you come across horses, you come across ox, you come across different farm animals, but they represent certain political leaders in Russia. This is what happens. And two famous examples of allegory are, now you must be familiar with the name of Edmund Spenser, the Elizabethan poet. He's the Fairy Queen is very famous example of an allegory. Here, the Fairy Queen stands for Queen Elizabeth the First, Elizabeth First. Okay, and one more important example of allegory, John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. Okay, so these are the famous examples. Apart from that, you come across allegory in Franz Kafka, in Nathaniel Hawthorne's story, The Artist of the Beautiful, And just now I talked about George Orwell's Animal Farm. So in simple words, I can tell you that in an allegory, there are characters such as animals, abstract ideas, vice, virtue, etc., qualities, and they are represented as human beings. They are personified. So this is what allegory is. Okay. So I hope you understood the two terms. We shall continue with our discussion. Then allusion is one more important literary concept, term. This is very predominantly used in many of the literary works. So what is an allusion then? An allusion is a reference. It is a reference to a person or event. This person or event can be historical or it can be from a literary work. And this reference gives another literary work a wider frame of reference. It is useful in adding a deep meaning to the work. Now, if you go for the example, Sylvia Warner's story, Winter in the Air, has a greater suggestiveness because there are frequent allusions to William Shakespeare's play, The Winter's Tale. Okay. And when we talk about W.B. Yeats' Swans on an Autumn River, this particular story, Sylvia Warner's story, Swans on an Autumn River, has number of allusions from the poetry of William Butler Yeats, W.B. Yeats. Further, if you know something about T.S. Eliot, in T.S. Eliot's The Westland as well, we have many mythical, biblical allusions. Means he brings in the mythological characters, mythological references from Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Holy Quran, Bible, etc. So these are called allusions. Now I'll give one more example of a Marathi poem by Bharat Tambe. जन पळ बर म्हणतील हाय हाय मी जाता राहील कार्य काय. जन पळ बर म्हणतील हाय हाय. This is the title of the poem. In that poem there is a stanza. रामकृष्ण ही आले गेले त्याहून जग का ओसच पडले. Now here the names of Ram and Krishna mentioned. Now though the readers who don't know Ram and Krishna may fail to understand the reference. Means I'm giving you a very known example. Means you have to find the reference. Of course, for Indian speakers, Indian readers, Ram Krishna are not unfamiliar. But when it comes to the other readers, it becomes difficult for them to understand it. If they happen to learn Marathi and read this poem, in that case, as we do it in case of English, in case of Hindi, or in case of Urdu. Allusion is a passing reference to a person or event. Now, if you have become familiar with John Milton, if you read a poem, The Invocation, which is the introductory part of his Paradise Lost, his famous epic. In the Invocation, there are many allusions to Bible. Means in order to understand that particular poem, you need to know the biblical events, biblical characters, means characters from Bible and events. You must be familiar with the disobedience, man's first. The poem begins like that, of the man's first disobedience. Now, what is this man's first disobedience? So we need to know the story of Adam and Eve. Okay, the first man and woman according to Christianity, to understand that particular line. If you go into the poem further, there are many references to the Holy Spirit, then Israel. So if you don't know the events, if we don't know anything about those events, it becomes difficult for us to understand such poems, such as Paradise Lost, even T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland that you're going to study in your MS syllabus. Until and unless you are familiar with these references or you get familiar with these references, it becomes difficult for you to understand the poem, understand the literature. Now, one more very famous example I would like to give. It is a drama, an absurd drama by Tom Stoppard. This is the beginning of your MA. I know you are unfamiliar. It is, but what we say, every drop makes an ocean. थेंबे थेंबे तळे साचे. सुरुवातीला थोडं अवघड वाटेल, पण हळूवार थोडंसं होप दाखवा, पेशन्स दाखवा, हळूवारपणे तुम्हाला कळत जाईल. सुरुवातीला खरंच थोडं मला माहिती आहे कॉम्प्लिकेटेड वाटेल, पण तुम्ही सस्टेन व्हायला पाहिजे, समजून घेतलं पाहिजे. ओके. So I was talking about Tom Stoppard. I suggest you to keep your notebooks in front of you to note down these names and all for further reference. That is the practice. So Tom Stoppard is a very famous, absurd dramatist, British dramatist. He has written a play called Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Now, look, the title is Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. Now, who are these Rosencrantz and Guildenstern? You'll have to go back to William Shakespeare's Hamlet to understand these two names. These two names are the names of the two characters, very minor characters from Hamlet, Shakespeare's play. And Tom Stoppard has used those two minor characters to develop a play. So this is what an allusion is. Okay. So in this manner, we understand allusion. Well, we shall continue the discussion in the next lecture. Give me a minute.